Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Preview Show. It's week 7. Me and Adam are back to go through all of the games coming up and give you some lovely little betting tips, which have been quite successful over the 7 weeks so far. Adam, there's already been a game on the New Orleans Saints at Arizona. It was a bit of a good game for offense. A couple of interceptions there as well. One to stay up for, I think, for a Thursday night.
Amazon Prime has finally turned up. Hallelujah. Yeah, it's the first Thursday night game that was actually half decent. I didn't stay up, I must admit, but I did. I saw the highlights of it, and I wasn't. I think that the biggest takeaway was that Olave is a player. Definitely, he's going to be really good over the next few years, and that the Saints desperately need a quarterback that's like a bit more steady because unfortunately, that red rifle has a tendency to veer off and throw a few interceptions. So, but yeah, I don't really think it's going to make a great deal of difference for either team. I still don't think the Cardinals are going to be amazing, and I think the Saints are looking like they're going to struggle now at 2-5. You've got to start wondering what they're going to do, and like I say, they need a quarterback. So.
Yeah, you'd think with having Andy Dalton in there, a guy that's been around the league for so long, he'd make better decisions with the ball, like making some proper rookie throws. And it's odd. You'd think he'd play a bit more simple, but hey ho.
I suppose there's a reason that he's been to a lot of teams.
Well, he's not spent most of it at the Bengals, didn't he? But
True, but like in recent years.
right, let's crack on with today's games then. First up, I've got the Atlanta Falcons at the Cincinnati Bengals.
That's worrying. That's the first one I've got as well. So what's happened there? I think really based on what I've looked at, I think you're going to be the Bengals should win this. To be honest, I think they're definitely a better team. Certainly the better defense. That front seven looked really, really good, and so I think the Falcons will struggle against that. The one thing that I looked at and that I saw was the Falcons are 31st against the pass when it comes to yards. So I think they're going to be open to giving up a touchdown or two. Now, obviously, Jamar Chase is the obvious guy, but he's quite a short price. I like T. Higgins on this one. He's 5-4. It's not a massive price, but I do think it's one that's got a good chance. Last week, I think he had 10 receptions, despite the fact that he was still dealing with the ankle injury. So I think that he will do pretty well. He's definitely one to look out for. And when you look at the others, they kind of when you've got Chase and Higgins there, it kind of feels like they are the two main ones. So there isn't really much else beyond that. It's like Boyd is one you can look at a slightly bigger price, but I think he's not really going to see much of the ball. On the Falcons side, the only thing that I sort of looked at and I sort of thought to myself, well, maybe he can sort of get on a bit of a run now is Kyle Pitts. You know, he scored last week. He still doesn't seem like the first read for Mariota. He still goes to London first. So I think if you can get a similar play like Pitts' touchdown last week, then at 9-4, I think he's a decent price. But on the whole, I just think the Bengals be too strong for him.
Yeah, I mean, on the Tuesday show when I was chatting with Freddie, I said the Falcons needed a bit of props for how well they're doing, and no one's really talking about how good they are actually performing. We did mention, obviously, that defense just isn't up to scratch, and Mariota's doing a fantastic job with that offense. But like you've just said, the Bengals have a great front seven, and Mariota's game relies on him usually getting his run game going as well, because he's been quite dangerous with rushing the ball for that team since Patterson's been out. So I'm not sure whether he's going to be able to get that going, and he's just going to be relying on the throws, which sort of limits your team slightly. And you don't want to be limited against a team like the Bengals, who have got good defense and good offense. So I think they will just be too strong to overpower them. But I think the Falcons are going to be in it. I don't think they're going to be completely destroyed. I think they've got the ability to put points up on the board.
Yeah, the one thing I would say is that we kind of said this last week when they played the 49ers, and obviously that didn't work out very well for the 49ers. So Yeah, I think the Falcons will be in it. I just think the Bengals are starting to look like they're getting it going now.
It's starting to look like they're getting it going, but they're leaving it very last minute. You know, they're really, really relying on Jamar Chase to pull them out of the mire a little bit with some of their plays. You're kind of watching it and going like, oh, if they didn't convert that, they wouldn't have won. So it's not perfect, but it's going in the right direction from them from when they started. So I'm going to stick with the Bengals, although I'm rooting for the Falcons a little bit this year. I like to see a nice little underdog story, and it's nice for Mariota, but both on the Bengals for that one. Okay, next game is the Detroit Lions at the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, so again, I feel like this is going to be a home win. I think that the Cowboys, especially defensively, are a much stronger unit than what the Lions are. I think that they're going to be certainly able to shut down quite a lot of the Lions' offense. I really like in this particular game, the Lions are 32nd against the run, really struggle against it, but also 26th against the pass. So I think just overall, I like the look of Zeke in this one. I think he's certainly one to look out for. He's only 10 to 11 though, so he is short, but I think that he is one guy that is worth checking. Dalton Schultz is another one who's struggled this season. Like, he's had a couple of injuries, hasn't really got the ball much, but I think that with Dak coming back in, he used Schultz quite a lot, and I think that at 8 to 5, he's not a bad price for that. And then finally on the Cowboys side, I do like with Schultz, the alternative to Schultz is Michael Gallup, just purely because I think CeeDee Lamb is going to get the main defensive guy on him. So Gallup is the bigger price at 7 to 4. I think that is certainly doable. On the Lions side, Swift is out, so that's a bit unfortunate. So you got Jamal Williams, but he is quite a short price, and you're going up against defense that, with people like Michael Parsons on it, is very, very strong. So to be honest, I put Amon-Ra St. Brown down because I put him down every week just because he is just that good, and I can see him getting the chance. He's 13 to 8, so for him now that is a pretty decent price. But you do have to bear in mind that it's the Cowboys defense that he's up against, so it's just not really one that I'd be that into. I think, like I said, I think the Cowboys win it, and probably the one that I think most likely to happen is Zeke at 10 to 11, but it's not a big price.
What do you think has really happened at the Lions? Because at the start of the season, when we saw them their first game, we were like, they seem to have turned a corner. They look really good. They were real competitive against the Eagles. They lost by 30, 35, 38, something like that against the Eagles. They came and beat the Commanders, and then it's been close games again, isn't it? Bar the Patriots. They narrowly lost to the Vikings. They narrowly lost to the Seahawks. They're putting points up on the board. They look like they can play ball, but it just doesn't seem to be working for them. And at 1-4, it's kind of a bit more the same story from last year that we thought they were going to move on from. Do you think that there's going to be a turning point eventually for this team to start winning games?
Probably not. I think the problem for the Lions is that defense still isn't very good, and that's the biggest issue. And so different teams can kind of hit them in certain areas that they know that is going to make a difference. And if it doesn't matter if you're a team that has got an amazing runner or amazing wide receivers, they're weak in both areas, and that's the big problem. On top of that, the reason that the points have come down a bit when it comes to them scoring is that you've had St. Brown out for a few games, you've had Swift out for a few games, and I think the Lions are one of them teams where they don't have the depth yet. I think once you start taking out them sort of two main offensive weapons, it becomes very difficult for them to keep getting the points up. So I think that's what the problem is. But I think the Lions, it was kind of transition, wasn't it, this year? It's more about getting that culture that Dan Campbell wants to bring in, and hopefully they can sort of become something more during the season and then push on it for the future. So I think that's more what it is. But yeah, they're more of an exciting team to watch rather than a team that's going to win.
You know, the return of Dak Prescott for the Cowboys this week, isn't there? I'm going to go just sheerly because it's Dak Prescott's back and the Cowboys team has looked good in games. I'm going to go for an upset in this game, and I'm going to go with the Lions to win this one. They've been putting points upon the board and they've been close against. It's the Eagles and the Vikings games that do it for me. They're the two strongest teams in the NFC at the moment, and they lost those games by sort of a field goal. So the Cowboys is the next step down, so maybe they can get over that field goal and put it in. So I'm going to go with the Lions to win this one. All right. Next up is the Colts at the Titans, divisional clash.
Yeah, divisional clash. I have got the Colts for this one, purely because that Titans defense is just not as good as what it was. Currently ranked 32nd against the pass, so it just isn't working really, to be honest. It will stop the run, but bear in mind you've got Jonathan Taylor going out there. That's going to be a lot harder to stop. So I think because of all of them things, it's difficult to go on the Titans side. I think a lot of their offense is going to be Derrick Henry, which is kind of what it is, isn't it? Really, he's 4 to 5 on. So I mean, if you want to put it in an accumulator, I wouldn't say no, because you know the Colts struggle against the run as well. So I think that is something that you could do, but really, I feel like on the Colts side that I felt like last week they're starting to get it together now. I feel like that they're starting to move the ball more. Matt Ryan is starting to get a little bit more comfortable with the offense, which I think is something that people that don't think about. You know, I mean, he is a new team for him. So I know he's a veteran and he's been around for a long time, but it's still a new team for him. So I think because of that, I would go for the Colts. Pittman at 7 to 4. We saw how many targets he got. It was crazy. However, the one that I like, and you're all going to get bored of me saying it because it's going to come every week, is Alec Pierce, because all the time you've got Pittman there as the number one, Pierce is going to be a bigger price. And he's currently 11 to 4 for a touchdown. He got his touchdown last week. I don't see why he wouldn't get one this week. He's up against a defense, like I said, who's ranked last in the league against the pass. I think he's going to get plenty of opportunities. I know that Jonathan Taylor is back, but they can't just run the ball all the time. They're going to have to pass it, and they've shown how they can win with the pass as well. So, like Pierce at 11 to 4, like the Colts to win. They're 6 to 5 to win. Or you can get the +2.5 at 10 to 11. So yeah, I think certainly Pierce is the one that I like the look of, and the Colts to win it.
Yeah, I think having Taylor and Hines out last week was probably a good thing for the Colts, because it's proven to them that they don't need to rely on that run game solely, and they can get their young receivers involved a bit more. And it's a young receiving core now for me that's, 6 games in is now settled, and it's settled with Pittman, Pierce, and Campbell, who Campbell's managed to stay fit through 6 games. And he seems to be catching what's thrown at him. He's not getting the targets like the other two, but what's going his way he's catching. So I think they're a viable trio now to move forward and take this team to the next level. Now they've had those 6 weeks. We say this every year with the Colts. They change their quarterback, they change various other positions, and it takes some time to settle into it. We said it last year, and then they went on the run and just missed out on the playoffs the same year when they had Rivers. So I think it's going to be a lot more of the same. And I think this 6 weeks now is is the gelling period, and they're over that now. So I see them starting to move on and press and beat better teams every week now. So I'm going to go with the Colts to win this. Like you said, Titans outside of Derrick Henry, there's not really a lot, is there? There's not the masses of weapons that we've seen from other teams to beat a good defense like the Colts. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with the Colts, and you can pick any of those 3 wide receivers, chucking a tight end as well in there. I think Woods is slowly starting to be used a bit more, the rookie. So yeah, I see the Colts winning that one quite comfortably. Next up is the Green Bay Packers at the Commanders. Surely you've got to win this one.
We've got to win one, haven't we? I mean, what the hell? It's like it's ridiculous. If our coaches ever decide to turn up, then that would be delightful. It really would. I mean, it's so ridiculous. The problem that the Packers have is that O-line is just not working at the moment. It's really gone downhill. I think that losing Adam Stefanovic out of the O-line room as the coach and him becoming offensive coordinator has been a big problem. They need to just put him in there and work with the O-line again, because he did it the last 2 years and they were amazing. So, you know, the only one who looks decent is Bakhtiari. And unless they get that O-line sorted, nothing changes. You know, that is the problem. That is the biggest thing. And then when it comes to the play calling, I don't know how much of it is the coaching when it comes to the play calling, and how much of it is Rodgers when he's changing it at the line. You know, this is the problem, and you just kind of feel like there needs to be a bit of a change in that respect. They just need to, you know, the one thing Rodgers came out and said was that to get it more simple, and in a way I think he's right. And when he says that, what it needs to be is it needs to be more run, and it needs to be more RPOs. That's what it needs to be. He needs to roll out like he always used to do, and you know, take a leaf. I know it sounds weird, but it's like Matt LaFleur came with the, you know, Sean McVay tree. Jared Goff, when they got to the Super Bowl, it was all the same. It was all run game, and then bootleg Daniel Jones. Same sort of thing. That's the kind of plays that they need to play and keep it simple. And it's nothing flashy. And Rodgers probably thinks it's slightly beneath him, but it works. And especially in that offense. So I think they really need to go to that sort of thing. Having said all that, the Commanders are rubbish. And they're without Carson Wentz as well. So they've got Tyler Heineke in there. I mean, the Packers need to. The offense needs to step up, because I actually don't blame the defense that much. I think they're pretty solid, and then they get knackered because they're so busy on the field all the time. And I think that's the biggest problem with the defense. To me, betting wise, I think Tonyan is coming into it a lot more. I think at 13-8, he's a decent price. I also think you can get the over under on receiving yards at 31.5. He got 90, I think, last week. So at 10-11, I think that's definitely one to go for. And Romeo Doubs, I just think that you watch any of the tape and he just looks like he's a cut above. He needs the ball though. Like they're just not getting him the ball, and that's something that they need to do. So at 7-4, they need to do that. I was saying about the run game. The run game does need to come in more. Aaron Jones, it's ridiculous how little Aaron Jones has done this season. He needs to be a lot more, but he's odds on. So it's like a 20-21. You just don't know if they're going to do it or not. That's the problem. And the only thing on the Commanders side where you sort of think there is a potential touchdown scorer is Brian Robinson. He's the only one. Because with Heineke, you saw last year, he can do little bits, but nothing major. He's going up against a defense that is capable. And so I just think the run game they'll lean on heavily. So Brian Robinson is at 21-10 is a decent price. But yeah, hopefully the Packers win. I mean, it's the last couple of weeks have been just ridiculous.
Still in it though, was it 3-3? That's still in it
Yeah.
in these terms. It's not as if you're fighting your way back into it. You've mentioned the O-line struggling. Do you think that's the reason why we haven't seen much out of Jones and Dillon? You talk about Jones being absent. Dillon's been more absent than Jones. So, do you think it's sheerly down to the O-line, or do you think it's the
No, I well, like I say, the problem with the play calling is you don't know 100% know whether Rodgers is changing it at the line, and so what was meant to be a run play is no longer a run play. So you don't know, but I do think that a lot of the problem is the O line. That seems to be something that it's just not functioning. I mean, like I say, Bakhtiari on the left has been decent. Jenkins has been playing right tackle and has really struggled at right tackles this season. What it's almost like, and there are guys out there, they need to get someone in who is an actual right tackle, because Jenkins played sort of like as guard last season, and I think they've struggled with that. I think Josh Myers has been okay, but he's not great as the centre. There just seems to be for whatever reason, it's just not working the way that it has over the last couple of years. And really, the only thing that's changed is that the coach is now the offensive coordinator and he's not the O-line coach anymore. And so you kind of, they keep saying, oh, but he's working with the O-line, but it's like, but he's not, he can't be doing the same as what he was doing because he's doing the whole offense now. So I think that's the issue really. But yeah, I mean, it is that. But I always thought that LaFleur wanted a run game. He always came out very much that he wanted that and he wanted a strong run game. But they're just not. They're not doing it, and you just sort of do wonder: is it because Rodgers is changing it at the line?
Yeah, I mean, we've got the trade deadline coming up. Lots of rumors that you're going in for a wide receiver. But for me, the way you're talking, I think they should go in for a right tackle, surely.
Yeah.
Go out there and trade for the O-line. When you look at it, Lazard's playing really well now. He's fit.
Yeah.
Dobbs is looking like a great rookie. You've got Sammy Watkins back. Is he back this week?
Yeah.
So you've got Sammy Watkins back in there. Christian Watson, he's not clicked straight away, but he has struggled with his injuries.
He's out injured as well. So
when he comes back, that's 4 receivers plus Cobb when he's back. Maybe you don't need to push for a wide receiver, knowing that Lazard and Dobbs could do it, and you need to go and trade for that right tackle instead.
I think there has to be a lot of people don't like to hear it. It's something that, I mean, I said at the beginning of in the off season, I was up for the rebuild. I genuinely was. I was like, let's try either trade him or let him retire and move on, and we will sort of like move on and take the picks and sort of start all over again. You have windows, you have Super Bowl windows, and we have extended it too far, is what I feel has happened. And as great as it is to see Rodgers there, and I'm not that guy who's like, oh, I could never see him in another jersey. It truly wouldn't bother me, sort of thing. But I get why people are like it. But genuinely, I think they need to understand that even if that offense started clicking a bit more and that defense was doing well, are you beating the Bills? Are you beating the Chiefs? Exactly. The window's closed and now it's too late because you've gone all in, because it's the easy thing to do. The front office, they're not going to get rid of Rodgers. They're going to be like, of course we're going to keep him. He's the MVP. They're like, if they got rid of him and it all went wrong, which it would be their jobs on the line. So that's why it's happened. But it's just, I think they've left the window open too long, and they've tried to push in another couple of years, and there's other teams that are doing better now.
that's enough of the Packers chat. We've spent way too long on that. So we'll move on.
Well, you asked me. What did you expect?
Well, it's a topic that needs to be discussed at 3-3 in the NFC as well. I think that you've got to give a bit of time to the Packers because there is question marks there. So I'll give you a little 5 minutes of fame. But we're on to the Buccaneers at the bomb everybody out your team Panthers.
Yeah, this one won't take long. The Bucs are going to win. So last week, I thought that the Panthers might hang on with the +10, and they missed out, didn't they? They lost by 14 against the Rams. This week, the Bucs are struggling offense as well. But I mean, without Christian McCaffrey now, I mean, there's nothing. There really is nothing. And I did read before we came on. Actually, apparently someone offered 2 firsts for Brian Burns.
Yeah,
they turned it down.
I've read that the Eagles were in for him.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm not sure why the Eagles need more people, but
why not? Why not? I mean, because they're all in, aren't they? They're going for it. That's why, because of the start. So, but yeah, I looked at it. Fournette, obviously, 5 to 6 though is very short. Mike Evans is evens. The one of the 3 that I do like the look of, Chris Godwin, 13 to 10, a little bit bigger price. I think you'll find that he'll might come through. When it comes to the Panthers, there's nothing. I mean, there just isn't. PJ Walker's not really going to do a lot. Deontay Foreman at 2 to 1, possibly, but I mean, there's so many better bets to go for, and so, but he's the one who might do something. But you've got a Bucs defense that's decent. You've got an offense that should be doing better than what it is. They're up against a team who are basically tanking, just not admitting it. And, you know, I think it has the potential to get ugly.
Are they not admitting it? They're literally going like, everybody's for sale. Like, I think DJ Moore's the only player they've gone, we'd like to keep hold of him.
Yeah, well, they haven't said it.
So I'd struggle if I was a Panthers player after watching them last week as well and seeing the shouting on the sideline between coaches and players and everything like that. I'd struggle to be a player there now and get to the point where I'd want to play to my heart out, like put my life on the line, take those big hits for a team that's not really giving much back to you at the minute. You know, they're basically saying your job's on the line, like to get traded. Are you giving 100% or are you giving a little bit less?
Yeah, I think that's what you'll probably find will happen. I mean, I suppose at the end of the day, there is an element of pride. So I think that defense will probably keep going because they do have a half decent defense there. But no, I mean, well, the offense just doesn't have anything there.
Yeah,
DJ Moore isn't going to do anything because the problem is that he's got no quarterback that's going to do much, and also he's going to be targeted out of every game because there's no one else there. You know, this is the problem. So yeah, I mean, obviously they will move the ball a little bit, but there's nothing to bet on. There's not really a lot of hope for them for this season, and they just have to think of it as they're in a massive rebuild, and that's just what it is. So.
Massive rebuild, and they've got some good youngsters on that defense. So, you know, it's not all doom and gloom. I would like to see more of Chuba Hubbard in the backfield for the Panthers. I thought he filled in really nicely last year as a rookie when McCaffrey was out. So I'd like to see a bit more of him. Hopefully he can get on the field with Foreman and produce a little bit more, but he's not really. I think he's been used a bit more in the returning game. So, well, we'll see. On to the next game. Oddly, when I tell most people this, they'll be shocked. It's the New York Giants at the favourites, Jacksonville Jaguar.
Yeah, this is the one, isn't it? Whenever I look at the lines and you go, what? What do they know that we don't know? Jacksonville are favourites, 3-point favourites as well. I've gone for the Giants. Obviously the Jags have improved. and they do look a lot better than what they were. But that defense on the Giants side is just doing so well. And the one thing that I think a lot, so they're eighth against the pass. They struggle against the run, but not away from home. They really shut it down away from home.
Bit of a weird stat, isn't it?
It's strange how it happens. Sometimes these things do, and it's like there are some odd ones. It's like the Packers one. I think the Packers are something like they're the number one against passing yards altogether, but away from home, away from home they're like 20th. And it is strange how it normally it's just dependent on what team you happen to have played. But once you start getting to week 7 and you've played 3 or 4 away games or home games, it does become a bit of a weird stat. But yeah, so the Giants do shut down the offense when they're away quite well. The Jags, like I say, they have got a little bit better. I think ETN is starting to come into it a lot more now. That's definitely a good thing, I think, for the Jags in the long run. They're also a team that are good on the defense, and another team only against the pass. They're actually 20th, but they're actually second at home. So I think it's going to be a very tight game. I like the under. It's at 43, so I like the under for that at 10 to 11. I think that's 43.5 now, so that's a good price for the under on that. I do like the Giants to win. They're 7 to 5, so I think that's certainly one to look out for. And if you want the +3, then it's 20 to 21. The only touchdown scorers really in this game is Saquon Barkley. He's evens, so at least you're not odds on, so that's something to go for. The only one on I'm not really that fussed about ETN scoring, but the only other one on the Jags side who has been getting a bit more of the ball, and it is a bit of a revenge game for him, is Evan Ingram. So you do just wonder if there is that. He's 11 to 4, so. Yeah, I mean,
why do you say revenge game? We loved him. Well,
but you got rid of him, so I mean that's why. So there's that. So maybe Ingram at 11 to 4, but again, a little bit like Don's Foreman, I think there are better bets for you out there. But yeah, Giants to win it.
Yeah, do you think there's any possibility? We saw Wan'Dale Robinson play for the Giants, got his first touchdown as a rookie last week. Do you think there might be a bit more trust there now, and they might use him a bit more? He was our big hopes of coming in and possibly replacing Tony if it didn't work out with Tony. So there's a lot of hype about him going into the season.
So I mean, there is a chance he's 100 to 30. So it's a nice price for him. But the problem that I have with the Giants receiving core is that you don't know who's going to get it. There's two. It's funny. There's no one, and then there's loads of them, all kind of at that sort of lower end sort of thing. So we saw at the London games, it was Darius Slayton. He had his week. Wan'Dale Robinson was good last week. Daniel Bellinger seems to have just come out of nowhere and done well. I mean, at the beginning, everyone was a little bit like, don't know if he's going to do much, but now he seems to be there, getting on the field a lot. So
seems to be a red zone target, isn't it?
Sorry,
seems to be a red zone target. Even if he's
used loads in the
game,
yeah.
So
at 3 to 1, he's not a bad price, Bellinger. So he might be worth having a look if you want a slightly, bigger odds kind of bet. But yeah, you just don't know. That's the problem with the Giants, and I don't think there's going to be many touchdowns in this game either. That's the thing. It's like I think the under is probably about right, and I don't think there's much touchdown wise. But yeah, Robinson looked good last week even. So I think he could.
I really like Daniel Jones to get in the end zone this week. I've seen it. Look, you laugh. I've been watching it every week, and in every single red zone, when they're about between 5 and 10 yards away from the end zone, there's a play designed for him to have a rushing touchdown every week. So it's come off twice. I think twice we've managed it. So at that red zone end. So there's going to be a play designed within the red zone for him to get in the end zone. So I think he could punch it in and get it, because they'll be so
it's just that I know how much you love your quarterback sneak sort of thing, and that's what it is.
The odds are just so good on it, though. That's why.
11-4. Yeah, he's a decent price. He could, but I
tell you what. Here's my bet for you. Are they both early kickoffs? Both early kickoffs. Daniel Jones, Marcus Mariota, both to score anytime. It's a double.
It could happen. It could happen.
Yeah. Right. Next game up is the Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, a bit of a.
Yeah.
It's not really an exciting one, is it? Really.
Both teams. This should be an exciting game, but it's
not. It's just not. Both teams struggle to close out games as well. That's another thing.
The Ravens are purposely trying to throw every game away. Haven't they led every game by 10 points or more?
Yeah, I think. Well, certainly most of them. Yeah. Yeah. I think J.K. Dobbins is out, so I'm going to go for Kenyon Drake. I think he's going to get most of the runs this for today. So at 6-5, I think he's a decent price. And the only thing on the Brown side, to be honest, is that the Ravens are 28 ranked against passing yards. Amari Cooper's 21-10, and David Njoku's 3-1. So they're both pretty decent prices. I think they can get points on the Ravens. I'm not saying. I mean, it's going to predominantly be Nick Chubb, obviously, and Kareem Hunt, but they're so short, it's just not really worth it. But I think that these receivers, especially Amari Cooper, I think it's starting to happen. You can kind of see there's a bit more happening now with Amari Cooper, and I think he's someone who, if you're interested in fantasy at all, I think that he's definitely one that you need to be looking out for the future, especially when Deshaun Watson comes back. But yeah, there's not a lot in this game that is of much interest, to be honest. I think the Ravens will win it, just because I think they're a little bit more likely to make sure they don't screw it up as they're against a rival. But yeah, it's not an exciting game, and I won't be watching it.
Is Bateman still out? I think he was questioned.
Yes, I think he is. I think he is still out. So obviously you've got Duvernay, haven't you? Who's
filling in
available, but I mean, the problem is even Duvernay is a bit of a.
He's hit and miss. He has good week, bad week, good week, bad week. It's hard to pick it's hard to pick which one he's going to click in. I think. Did you say that Njoku was 3-1 anytime?
Sorry.
Did you say Njoku was 3-1 anytime?
Njoku is 3-1 anytime. He was last night. I'll have a quick look.
That for me is an absolute fantastic bet.
Yes.
He's been in the end zone the last 2 weeks. It looks
like he's still 3-1 anytime at the moment.
Yeah, that for me.
And of course, the other thing, the return of Gus the Bus.
He's come off of. They needed to take him off of the PUP list prior to the 26th of October. Otherwise, he would be out for the whole season. So I think it's more. They know he's going to be back, but he's not ready, so I can't see him playing. They've
said he's going to suit up.
He's not going to play.
He probably won't play, but the return of Gus the Bus. So you never know.
Yeah. Good for him, though. I'd like to see him back on the field. He was a good player, and he's been unfortunate with multiple season-ending injuries. So,
yeah.
Next game up is the New York Jets at the Russell Wilson-less Denver Broncos.
God, you're just bringing these exciting games for me, aren't you?
The Wolverine blood is not kicked in.
Hopefully he's saving himself for next week, because if we're going to watch Brett Rippon, then that's going to be a fun game. Yeah, I think the under is quite a good bet. It's set at 37, so it is low, but I don't see a lot of points happening here. A lot of people have come out and said about the Jets, you know, how much better the offense is doing. That offense didn't do much against the Packers. That was their defense that won them that game, and the Packers being not very good. So I think that because of that, I wouldn't expect too much from the Jets offense. With Russell Wilson out, I mean, that Denver offense wasn't doing much anyway, but with him out, it's going to be even less. So
is it because he didn't? Well, the fact that the stats say that he was doing quite a bit, as we found out on Tuesday when I was no, this isn't working. Freddie proved me wrong when he went through all the stats. So,
so yeah, I think both offenses aren't really doing a lot. Both defenses are actually pretty decent. The Denver one is strong on both sides of the ball, and the Jets one actually isn't too bad as well. They're kind of like they're ranked 12th on both the run and the pass in yards. So I think that they're both looking pretty good. That's why I like the under. I do like Breece Hall for a touchdown. I must say that's the one at 11-8. I think he's the one there. And then on the other side, on the Broncos, you can't trust any of them really because of who the quarterback is. I mean, you couldn't trust them anyway, but you can't really trust them now even more. Latavius Murray seems to last week could take over the running back role. So at 11-4, he's a slightly bigger price. And then there is one guy who, I mean, you have to love him. You really do, with the hair and just the whole sort of demeanor of him. Greg Dulcich, 15-4. You know, the one thing not all heroes wear capes. That man is a hero. So yeah, 15-4, definitely worth a. I think the Jets will win it, but it's not going to be fun to watch.
I think the Jets will win it. They've got that element of momentum with them as well, haven't they, going into this game? One question I would like to put forward to you is, where has Garrett Wilson gone? You know, he hit the ground running, and then we've seen nothing from him from the last 3 weeks.
Well, unfortunately, his namesake came back, and that's the problem. That's what it is. He is not very good, Zach Wilson. That's all you need to know. Zach Wilson is not, that's the nicest way I could put it. He is not very good. And the problem is you've now got two good running backs and a good defense. So what are you going to do? You know, you're not going to rely on Zach Wilson, are you? You're going to pass, you're going to run the ball a lot, and you're going to keep the score of the opposition down, especially against a team who can't do anything offensively as well. So, yeah, that's the problem with Garrett Wilson. It's not his fault. Is it? Why do you think Elijah Moore wants out? You know, this is the thing. It's like they're always. It's ridiculous. You've got. I mean, Elijah Moore was he a second round pick last year?
Year before. This is
year before. Okay, but like he's still on his rookie contract. Garrett Wilson was a first round pick. You know, you've still got Corey Davis there, who isn't amazing, but he's all right. They've got some decent wide receivers. But the guy who throws it can't throw.
We've had this issue at the Jets for the last 10 years. I'd say wide receivers just wanted out because the quarterback's not good enough. This is a common thing.
I mean, the reason Garrett Wilson did well in the first few weeks was because it was Joe Flacco, and Joe Flacco would just stand there and throw the ball like 50 times in a game. So he was going to get the ball. And the other thing is that although Flacco's arm is a bit knackered, it's still better than whatever Zach Wilson is.
Yeah. At least he's trying to throw to players and not just scrambling around and trying to make it look
Yeah.
good. I've got another exciting game for you. It's the Houston Texans at the Las Vegas Raiders.
This is a little bit better than the last one, in fairness. I think the Raiders will win this one. There's not a lot on the Texans that really interests me. Damian Pierce is the only one but he's odds on, so he's really short. You could go Brandon Cooks purely because the Raiders are not particularly great against the pass. He's 7-4, but I mean, it's not a great offense. There's not going to be a lot of points scored from the Houston side, I don't think. So I think because of that, there's not really anything to go for. The Texans' defense is pretty woeful. They're worse against the run. So Josh Jacobs, I think, is definitely one. But again, he's odds on. He's 20-21, so he's quite short. The only one at a price that I did kind of like the look of on the Raiders side, and this is purely because Darren Waller's out and Hunter Renfro's back, but they seem to think he might be limited a little bit as to how much he's going to see, is Matt Hollins. I think Hollins has shown this season that Derek Carr trusts him, that he's capable. 2-1, I think he's the price because obviously Devonta Adams is going to see loads of the ball, but I think Hollins is going to be the other guy for most of this particular game. So at 2-1, I do really like him. I think he's got a very good chance of getting a touchdown. But I think the Raiders will win it, and the Texans are still a bit rubbish.
There's no way that Raiders team should be 1-4 as well. It is better than a 1-4 record. They've got the players, the talent's there. The Texans are the Texans. They've got some nice pieces, but it just doesn't work. Like I say, Pierce, I think, looks absolutely fantastic. Cook seems to be getting it done like he does everywhere. Nico Collins over the last 2 weeks has looked good, but it just doesn't work at the Texans. And for me, the Raiders are still a viable team. They're not a 1-4 team. So I think they win it quite comfortably. They've still got one of the best wide receivers in the game. So, it's should be one of these that we just go tick. It's the Raiders, but I'll keep an eye on it.
I think they will in this one. I think the problem that the Raiders have been finding is that they've been up against decent opposition, and that's the problem. As I said from day one, that division is stacked, but the Raiders, just to me, feel that little bit weaker than the others. And obviously, like, the Broncos are doing their best to prove me wrong. But I just feel like the Raiders are a little bit weaker. And so when they play them good teams, they're going to struggle. When they play the Houston Texans,
they should
win.
Next game up is the Seattle Seahawks at the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, a little bit more exciting, hopefully, this one. A lot of points. I like the over, definitely. It's 50.5, but I still like the over. I think these two teams can do well. I know the Seahawks struggled last week, but they have shown in the past that they can put up points, and so I think that they will be okay. The Chargers are obviously a good offense, and are capable. And both sets of defenses are not great. They're both like the Seahawks are kind of in the bottom half, and the Chargers are kind of middle of the road. I think personally, I think the Chargers will just about have enough to win it. Keenan Allen's still out, so that's obviously I think he's still out, so that's going to be a loss for them. But Eckler, but he's 8-11, so obviously he's very short. The one on the Chargers side I do like the look of is Gerald Everett at 6-4. He's a slightly bigger price, so I think he's worth having a look at. On the Seahawks side, I think Kenneth Walker. I mean, Pete Carroll was just loving life last week until it all went wrong at the end. I mean, I've never known. He just wants to sit. He wants that ball running, doesn't he? That's all he wants. He just loves it. It's unbelievable. And he's 6-5. It's not a big price, but I think it's a winner. And the only other one, purely because of the price, I mean, he's 8-5. I know it sounds like a short price, but for DK Metcalf, it's a massive price. It really is, 8-5. But I just don't trust Pete Carroll to give him enough of the ball. So Walker's the real one on that I like to look of. But I think the Chargers will just be too strong for him.
Yeah, I said before the season started, Kenneth Walker managed to carry the Michigan Spartans literally all season with like no talent whatsoever on their team to make them look like a good team. So there's no reason why he can't do it again for the Seahawks. So just keep giving him the ball, except they've got DK Metcalf if they need to throw it. So for me, it's been Geno Smith keeping them in games with the defense playing badly. And last week, it was the defense that stepped up, wasn't it, against the Cardinals? So hopefully they can find it.
I do feel that the Cardinals were a bit weren't great.
Yeah, but it's finding a happy medium between them because Chargers have managed to, as always, find ways to lose games. And this could be one of those games. Tough opponent, Seahawks. Beatable, but tough. So it's one of those games for the Chargers that could be a little bit one of those. If you don't manage it well, they could lose this. But it should be the Chargers win here for me. I think they are the better team. So I'm going to stick with the Chargers for it. And the last of the 9:25 fixtures is Kansas City Chiefs at the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I had a look at this one. I think it'll be an interesting game to watch, but there's nothing really shouting out for me. I just instinctively I go over because it's the Chiefs. But the 49ers defense is very good, but they have had injuries, so it's a matter of who comes back. At the moment, we don't really know. A lot of them are game time decisions, mainly Bosa. That's the big one, really. But so I do kind of lean towards the over just purely because of that. I think the one bet really, I mean, with the Chiefs, the only one who you can genuinely feel is going to get a touchdown for you is Travis Kelce. Otherwise, it could go to any of the guys. It's like it in a weird kind of way. It's a bit like the Giants, like where you've got Juju Smith-Schuster, you've got Mecole Hardman, you've got Valdez-Scantling. I don't know which one's going to get the ball in the end zone. It could be any of them. They on their day they could all do it. So that's really difficult. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you just can't. You just don't know.
He's got one week being Clyde Edwards-Helaire of the NFL, hasn't he?
Exactly.
It's like, at the start of the year.
Yeah, so it's like he could have a week where he absolutely flies, and then the next week he does nothing. And when you're going up against a defense that's the number 2 ranked against running yards, you kind of feel a little bit like, maybe not this week. So I think because of that, you sort of steer clear. The 49ers, I don't know I don't think McCaffrey's going to see much, to be honest, because he hasn't really learned much of the playbook. They have come out and said that if he does see anything, it's going to be goal line work, because obviously it's just punching it in.
Give you the ball and you get in the end zone.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's what you might see, but I don't think I'd be going there because you just don't know. At the same time, it kind of takes.
Do the odds favour him to be playing and scoring, or do the odds see him sitting out more?
So, he's not in the betting. So I'm assuming that means they've said he's going to sit out. Jeff Wilson's 6-5. And then it's Tevin Coleman at 13-5. Yeah, he's not in the betting. I mean, if you wanted to, oh no, you can't. That's only first touchdown, isn't it? I was going to say you could do any other touchdown scorer, but that's only for first. and last. So yeah, I don't think he's going to play. So yeah, there's not a lot on the 49ers because of that. Jeff Wilson maybe, but again, the Chiefs are actually pretty good against the run. The one weakness of the Chiefs is against the pass. They do seem to struggle against that a bit. Brandon Ayuk scored last week. He seems to be getting a bit more involved in the offense. He's currently 2-1 anytime, so that's probably the one at the price. But I don't know. There's not. I like the over, but that's about it really. And I think the Chiefs will win.
I quite like the 49ers for this one. I think they've got a great defense, tick, and I think they've got better weapons than the Chiefs. I know that Mahomes is better than Garoppolo, but Kittle's back and looking decent. Deebo Samuel is always a threat, and Ayuk is starting to look like a bit more of a wide receiver that can fill in when Deebo's all over the field. Whereas I still feel Chiefs is just Kelsey and Mahomes. And
that's all they need.
True. It is all they need. It is. You said this before when Hill was out for them when they had Hill. I think they're the better team. I do like the 49ers for this one, but you can't bet against the Chiefs. It's just it's not sensible, is it? It's just not sensible. But
no,
I do like the 49ers for this one, but yeah, I'm sticking with the Chiefs. Right. Next one up is the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Miami Dolphins. Pittsburgh.
Who's staying up? Who's staying up for this one?
Surely Freddie's staying up for it.
Is he? Bless him. Oh God.
Look better.
True. I think the Dolphins will win. I think if the Tua's back, and that's going to make a big difference. The Steelers defense. Sorry?
Is Waddle fit?
Waddle is fit. Hill's fit. Both of them. So Hill's 21-20. Waddle's 6-5. They're both quite short, but I think with Tua back, you kind of have to feel that they both have the potential to do well against the Steelers defense that has really struggled without TJ Watt. They're currently ranked 30th against the pass. So, Hill, Waddle. Gesicki turned up as well last week. He's 2-1, so he's a bit of a bigger price, but I wouldn't get too excited about it. The Dolphins you can score on the Dolphins, that it's not that they can't do anything. So I think Deontay Johnson is currently 9-4. He's the one who seems to be getting most of the targets from Kenny Pickett. So yeah, 9-4, I like him. And obviously Pat Freiermuth at 12-5, I think is another one who has the chance to do something. But to be honest, there's not really a lot in this game that particularly excites me. I just think the Dolphins will be too strong.
Yeah, it's not just TJ Watt that's out on that defense as well, though, is it? The two cornerbacks are out. Minkah Fitzpatrick's out. I think another one of their linebackers is struggling. Is it Highsmith? Oh, I'm going to say Highsmith, but it might not be. I know they've got too many injuries on that defense and not the depth to replace the talent that's not on the field. So I think if they had those guys, I'd be sticking with Steelers to win this one. I like them a bit better offensively when they've got Pickett in there, despite the fact I don't think Pickett is the answer to all their problems. I think he offers you a bit more with his legs, which I like for them. And we saw a bit more out of their wide receivers last week. So they're out. Freiermuth's out as well, isn't he? So that's a big loss for them.
Is he not back?
I thought he was out. Maybe.
Okay. I thought he was coming back for this game. They said he was going to be back. He's in the betting. He's 12-5 to score any time. So yeah, he's third in the betting for the Steelers to score. So I think he is back. Yeah, and yeah, I don't know with the Steelers. They're that organisation, aren't they, that are too proud to lose.
Yep.
when you
Yeah,
feel like maybe
they're playing just to not have a losing record, aren't they? They're not playing to get to the playoffs. They're playing just not to have a losing record. Dolphins defense has not been as good as what I thought it was going to be. I thought it'd be a bit stronger. I struggled a little bit. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think that Dolphins are going to win this one easy. I think it could come down to the wire. I think it could come down to a field goal. I'm gonna go with the Steelers again. I'm gonna go with an upset again. That's my second upset of the week. I'm sticking with the Steelers. Boswell is a good kicker. That's the difference. Boswell is a great kicker. Right, on to another exciting game for you. It's the Chicago Bears at the New England Patriots.
Yeah, well, this is what you get when Thursday night football's actually half decent. They have to screw up Monday night football instead. So, yeah, the Bears at the Patriots. I like the under.
It's going to be a lot of running.
A lot of running. I like the under. It's set at 40. I think that will probably happen. It's a bit of a there's nothing on the Bears side that I'm remotely interested in at all. I can't even begin to work out what they're going to do. The only thing that I kind of was interested in, and even this is difficult. The Bears are 29th against the run. The Patriots love to run the ball. I don't know if Mac Jones is back or not. It seems a bit game time decision whether he'll be back, but to be honest, it doesn't matter because it's going to be all run. Damien Harris, Ramondre Stevenson are both evens money. One of them are getting.
Both of them will get in. I think you're going to see.
Yeah, both of them might get.
Both of them. I think it's just going to be run. Give it to both of them. But I think we asked a question about fantasy of which one you'd start. You know, does Ramondre Stevenson lose his value with Harris back? I'd start both of them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know which one you would go for over the other. Maybe you'd go for Stevenson just purely because he was the main guy last week, and they do tend to run a bit of a, whoever's in the groove at that time kind of thing. Then they'll stick with that until it starts going a little bit wrong, and then they'll chuck the next one in. So maybe Stevenson, but I'm going to bed. I won't be up. So,
Yeah, you can't, it would be I can't physically stay up and watch the Bears let Justin Fields throw the ball no more than 15 times. If they let him throw it 10 times. Apparently what I'm hearing is they're telling him he's got to go to a read that they've said on the line, and he's trying to force it. So that they're not even letting him make his own decisions. So I think it's just going to be a lot of him scrambling around or Montgomery. I don't think there's anything else in that, which is such a shame. So it's a Pats win and poor Bears.
I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know with the Bears. I just don't get it. I don't get what they're doing. I don't understand it. It's all round the wrong way. And you're seeing in a division where it's clear as day that the Packers are starting to decline. You can clearly see that we are starting to decline. Mm-hmm. And the Vikings have kind of gone, right, let's go for it now, because I can see they're starting to decline. And the Lions have clearly gone, right, we're going to go for it in like 2 or 3 years' time and look at it that way. And then there's the Bears. And I don't know what they're doing. I would be it must be horrific if you're a Bears fan. And it's great. It's hilarious to watch for a Packers fan. But I don't know what they're doing.
It's not good to watch as an NFL fan or a fan of any of the players that are on the team. If you like one of them, then it's a bit of a shame. But hey, Adam, have you got a treble that you really like for us? A bet that you definitely have got your money on?
Yeah, so early games treble that's gone out already. T Higgins, Alec Pierce, Chris Godwin. is just over 18 to 1.
Great
So
odds.
like that one. And then the late games, a little bit smaller, about 14.5 to 1. Mac Hollins, Brees Hall, Kenneth Walker.
Like it. That first one, I think I'm definitely going to have a cheeky fiver on that. I like the sound of that one. That's the one for me that I really like. Don't forget to have Mariota and Daniel Jones.
Of course, the Marcus Mariota, Daniel Jones double, of course.
Because that will, I'm sure, have great odds. But thanks for joining me, Adam. Always great to go over the bets, the games, the upsets. I did quite well on the upsets last week. I was quite proud of myself. So
you got 3, didn't you?
Yeah. So yeah, called them. Yes, it's on tape as well. But thanks for joining us, guys. Best of luck to your teams this week, and we'll be back on Tuesday, and then on Thursday and Sunday. There's some other shows going out. If you haven't already seen it, Gareth's been doing some XFL stuff for us, so the videos are out for that. So if you want to go and have a watch, if you're interested in that, then go and give that a watch. It's on our websites and stuff. But till then, guys, thanks for joining, and goodbye.